When nothing seems to work, many people try to control the mind, but almost no one realizes that the block begins in the body. Breathing changes everything, and fast. The question is, do you know how to use it in your favor, or will you keep trying the wrong way? In this video, you will learn how to manifest anything in 24 hours using only your breath. But before that, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Continuing, if you feel that your life is stuck and you want to change that, I explained it more calmly in a guide I left in the pinned comment. Have you ever noticed you're always a little short of breath? Not really out of breath, like when you run or climb a flight of stairs. It's different. It's like you're living with only half your lungs working. It took me years to realize this. I thought being tired was normal, that this feeling of always being a little behind in life was just part of being an adult, that the tightness in my chest, especially at the end of the day, was just from the daily grind. Until one day, someone said something simple that changed everything. Just stop for a second and breathe. And I realized I barely knew how to do that. Life really does grind to a halt slowly. It's not like you wake up one day and everything has just stopped. It's a slow process, like one of those faucets that gradually shuts itself off, and you don't even notice the water is coming out slower and slower. First, you wake up already tired, even after sleeping 8 hours. Then comes that weird feeling that you're always chasing after something but can never quite catch it. Things get done, but it feels like it takes way more effort than it should. I remember a time when everything in my life was more or less working. A stable job, relationships that weren't bad, bills paid on time. On paper, everything was fine. But I woke up every day with a heavy feeling. Like I was carrying an invisible backpack that got heavier as the day went on. And the worst part was, I couldn't explain why. When someone asked how I was doing, the answer was automatic. I'm good. But I wasn't good. Something wasn't flowing. The funny thing is, every time I tried to fix this feeling, I started with my head. I'd think about goals, make lists, try to get more organized. For a few days, it would even seem to work. I'd feel more motivated, more focused. But soon enough, everything would go right back to where it was. The heavy feeling would return, the rush would return, the exhaustion would return. It was like my body couldn't keep up with what my mind wanted to do. It was on one of those afternoons, sitting at my desk at work, that I started paying attention to my chest. It was tight. My breathing was shallow, rapid, and I wasn't nervous about anything specific. There was no urgent problem to solve, but my body was reacting as if there was. My heart was a little fast, my shoulders were tense, my jaw was clenched. It was like I was always ready for some emergency that never came. And then it clicked. Maybe the problem wasn't what I was thinking, but how I was breathing while I was thinking. Because the body doesn't understand pretty plans or motivational speeches. It understands sensation. It understands rhythm. It understands if it's safe or in danger. And when your breathing is always rushed, it acts as if life is a constant threat. I started to notice that on the hardest days, when nothing seemed to go right, my breathing was almost non-existent. It was high, shallow, automatic. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And the more I tried to solve things by thinking better, the more tense my body became. That familiar frustration would set in. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't feel like I was on the right track. It's a strange feeling when you realize you're living in a constant state of high alert because there's nothing actually wrong. There's no real danger. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It only knows how to interpret the signals you're sending it through your breath. And short, rapid breathing means, watch out, something's wrong, be ready. When your body is like that, it feels like nothing new can get in. Opportunities go unnoticed because you're too busy defending yourself from imaginary threats. Ideas don't take root because there's no internal space for them to grow. Everything becomes an effort. Everything becomes a struggle. Even simple things get complicated. I remember the exact day this became clear to me. It was a Saturday morning. I had nothing urgent to do, but I still felt behind. I sat down in a chair, leaned back, and tried to relax. That's when I noticed I could barely fill my lungs. It was like I didn't even have time to breathe properly. So without any complicated technique, I just decided to slow the air down. I inhaled more slowly, a little deeper than usual. I waited a moment before exhaling. Nothing fancy. I just changed the rhythm, and something happened. My body stopped fighting. My heart rate slowed down. My head got quieter. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel rushed. It wasn't a miracle. The world didn't change. My responsibilities were still there. But something simple changed. The feeling that everything was urgent disappeared. And in the space that opened up, other perceptions started to emerge. Solutions that had always been there, but I had been too busy reacting to notice. There's an interesting thing about breathing. It's the only bodily function that's both automatic and conscious. You don't have to remember to breathe, but you can choose how to breathe. And when you change the way you breathe, you change the message you're sending to your nervous system. It's like you can talk directly to the oldest part of your brain, the one that decides if you're safe or in danger. When you breathe calmly, you're telling your body, it's okay right now, you don't need to defend yourself. And it believes you, because breath doesn't lie. You can't fake calm breathing if you aren't actually relaxing. I started to realize that the small pause between inhaling and exhaling had something special, a micro-silence that almost no one notices. When you stay there for a second, doing nothing, it feels like time pauses with you. It's not a thought, it's not a strong emotion, it's just presence. And in that instant, even if it only lasts a few seconds, the body understands that everything is okay in the present moment. It's different from trying to convince yourself that everything is okay, because the body doesn't believe in arguments. It believes in sensations, and the sensation of breathing slowly, of pausing between one breath and the next, is the language it understands as safety. In the following weeks, I started paying attention to how my breathing changed throughout the day. I noticed that every time I started to feel stuck or pressured, it would become automatic again, short, rapid, invisible, as if I'd forgotten I had lungs. But now I knew I had a simple choice. I didn't have to change my whole life at once. I didn't have to solve all my problems. I just had to remember to breathe differently for a few minutes, to let my body understand that it wasn't being chased, that it could pause. And when I did that, everything started to connect with me better. People, situations, ideas, not because the universe had decided to help me, but because I had finally gotten out of survival mode and started to notice what was already happening around me. Maybe that's why so many people feel like they're doing everything right, but nothing's moving forward. They're trying to change their lives without changing their internal rhythm, trying to create something new from an exhausted, sped-up body that's always on high alert. And no life can flourish on barren ground. The simplest thing ended up being the most effective. It wasn't a complicated breathing technique. It wasn't hours of meditation. It was just remembering that breathing is the one place where mind and body truly meet. And when you take care of that meeting, when you breathe like someone who has time, something changes in the way you inhabit your own life. From then on, I began to understand that getting my life in alignment might not be about doing more, thinking better, or being easier on myself. It might just be about breathing differently, letting my body know that it doesn't have to run all the time, that it can pause, that it can trust. After I started paying attention to my breathing, other things became obvious. It was like I had adjusted the focus on a camera and could suddenly see details that had always been there. Breathing was just the beginning. I noticed, for example, the way I walked, always in a bit of a hurry, even when I wasn't actually rushed. My steps were fast, hard, as if I were stomping on the ground with anger. And when I arrived anywhere, I was always a little tense, a little tired, as if I'd fought with the path to get there. One day I decided to try something simple. Instead of walking at my automatic pace, I slowed down, not by much, just enough to feel my feet touching the ground with less urgency. And a strange thing happened. I arrived at places more relaxed, not more tired from walking slowly, more relaxed, as if I had saved energy instead of spending it. That's when something else clicked. The way you move changes the way you feel, and the way you feel changes the way things happen around you. It's not magic. It's just that when you're not fighting against yourself, there's room to notice other things. I also started to notice my hands. They were always clenched or tense, especially when I was concentrating on something. Fingers tight, fists balled up, as if I were holding on to something that might slip away at any moment. I even used unnecessary force to type on the computer. I tried consciously relaxing my hands a few times during the day, just opening them, letting go, allowing them to be natural. It sounds silly, but when you relax your hands, the rest of your body gets the message. It's like a switch that turns off the general tension. There's something about tension I had never realized. It's contagious, not just between people, but within your own body. When one part is tense, the others start to contract in solidarity. A clenched jaw pulls on the shoulders. Tense shoulders stiffen the back. A rigid back affects your breathing. And bad breathing messes everything up again. But the opposite is also true. When you relax one part, the others start to let go along with it. It's as if the body remembers what it's like to not have to defend itself all the time. I started testing these small changes in different situations. An important meeting at work, for example. Instead of arriving already tense, expecting the worst, I tried arriving while breathing slowly and with my hands relaxed. It didn't change what I was going to say or how I had prepared. It just changed the state of my body, and I noticed that people reacted differently. Not that they could explain why, but they seemed more at ease, more open to conversation. The meetings flowed better. Ideas came more naturally. It was as if my calmness gave others permission to be calm too. This made me think about something. Are we always tuning into each other without realizing it? Like when you walk into a room and immediately know if the vibe is heavy or light, even if no one has said a word. Or when you meet someone and you can just tell if it's going to be an easy or a difficult conversation just by their presence. It's like every person has a frequency, not in a mystical sense, but in a practical one. An internal rhythm that shows up in everything, the way they talk, walk, look at you. And we tune into that frequency without even choosing to. When you're sped up, tense, in a state of urgency, you tune into other people who are on the same frequency. And it becomes that thing where everyone is complaining at the same time. Everyone is talking over each other. Everyone is in a hurry to get nowhere. But when you slow down your internal rhythm, when you breathe differently, when you relax your body, you start to tune into people who are on a calmer frequency. And then the conversations get more interesting. Solutions appear more easily. Things just flow. It's not that you change the people around you. It's that you stop attracting the stressed out version of them and start accessing their more relaxed version. I remember a specific situation that made this clear. I had a coworker who always seemed annoyed with me. Every conversation turned into an argument. Every request seemed like an inconvenience. I had gotten to the point of avoiding him just to prevent problems. One day when I was practicing this thing of walking more slowly and keeping my breath calm, I had to ask him for some information. I braced myself for the usual confrontation, but I approached him differently, relaxed, unhurried. I spoke at the same rhythm I was breathing. He responded normally, politely. He even asked if I needed anything else. I walked away, thinking maybe he was just having a good day. But it happened again the next week, and again, until I realized the problem was never him. The problem was that I always approached him already on the defensive, and he reacted to my tension with more tension. This changed how I saw my relationships. How many times do we complain that people are difficult, but we don't notice that we're approaching them already armed for a fight? How many times do we think the work environment is toxic, but we don't realize we're contributing to that toxicity with our own internal state? I started experimenting with arriving home differently too. Instead of walking in and immediately recounting the problems of the day, I would take a few breaths at the door before entering. I'd let my body understand that it was leaving the rhythm of work and entering the rhythm of home. The difference was instantaneous. Conversations became lighter, household problems seemed smaller, even the kids reacted differently, less agitated, less needy for attention. It was as if they could feel that I was truly present, not just physically there. It's funny how small changes in the body create big changes in life, because we think we need to change others, change our job, change our circumstances, but sometimes it's just a matter of changing the frequency you're operating on. There was a time when I started paying attention to how I held things, my phone, a pen, the steering wheel, always with more force than necessary. As if everything was about to slip out of my hands, relaxing my grip became a simple but powerful exercise, holding things firmly but without squeezing. This spread to other areas. I started doing things with less force, brushing my teeth without trying to scrape off the enamel, typing without pounding the keys, closing doors without slamming them. Small gestures that change my internal rhythm, and I realized that when you do things with less force, they work better. Food tastes better when you chew slowly. Water quenches your thirst more when you drink it mindfully. People listen better when you speak without rushing. It's as if all of life is a matter of finding the right rhythm. Not so slow that nothing happens, not so fast that you run over everything, but that rhythm where things flow naturally. I also discovered that places have a frequency. There are places that make you agitated just by walking in, others that calm you down, and you can choose which frequency to bring into a place instead of just absorbing the one that's already there. Once, I walked into a grocery store that was packed, everyone stressed, with huge lines. Normally, I would have left there annoyed, but I tried to keep my breathing calm and walk at my own pace despite the crowd. I didn't get less annoyed just because I wanted to. I got less annoyed because my body didn't tune into the general chaos. It got to a point where I started to realize that life doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. The way you are on the inside determines the kind of experiences you attract and the kind of solutions you're able to see. When you're sped up, you can only see the urgent problems and the quick fixes. When you're calm, you can perceive opportunities that were there all along, but you were moving too fast to notice. It's not self-help. It's not positive thinking. It's basic physics. You change your internal frequency, and that changes the kind of information you're able to pick up from your environment. And the most interesting part is that this doesn't require effort. It requires attention. Attention to notice when you're operating on autopilot, when you're walking too fast, breathing too shallow, holding things too tightly. From there, the change is simple. You just have to remember you have a choice. You can continue at the pace you're at, or you can try a different one. You can test it for a few minutes, see what happens. Maybe this is what we call alignment. Not being perfectly organized on the outside, but being in an internal rhythm that communicates well with life. A rhythm where you're not constantly fighting against yourself, where you can perceive what's happening around you without always reacting. And when you find that rhythm, everything gets easier. Not because the problems disappear, but because you're not creating additional problems with your own tension. You're not wasting energy fighting things you can't control. Life is still life, with its ups and downs, challenges and surprises. But you stop being your own biggest obstacle. You stop sabotaging your own chances with haste, tension and bad breathing. And then things really start to flow.